So welcome everybody, thanks so much for joining me today on the Synergy Women podcast. My name's Nikki Hamilton, I'm a physiotherapist and a women's resilience coach. And what I really look forward to exploring today is the topic of self-care for women and when self-care gets confused with indulgence, and then 10 tips to start rectifying that belief. Now, how many of you women out there routinely say, I'm too busy for exercise, good nutrition, enough sleep, mindfulness, meditation, stress calming tips? How many of you women are prioritising everybody else's needs first and putting yours somehow last on the list? Like getting to the gym is something that you might have time for once a month on a Saturday at 3 o'clock after you've run around for your family and put everybody else first. And I can relate to that. I have, in my own life and own career, spent many years saying to myself that I'm too busy. And I'm too busy became really, I guess, such a familiar statement within myself that in actual fact it became part of my identity. And I think a lot of women can relate to this too, is that I'm too busy just rolls off the tongue. It becomes, hi, I'm Nikki Hamilton, I'm too busy. And I do recall in my own career many years ago working really long hours. I loved what I was doing as a physiotherapist. I was developing expertise in helping women with hip and pelvic pain. I was loving treating my patients, but I prioritised them over my own health. And soon I was working back-to-back hours, and at the end of a day would meet with one of my girlfriends from work and comment, oh dear, I haven't had time to exercise at all this week. And she'd be like, oh, let's hop on the exercise bike here at work for 5 minutes at the end of the day. And that constituted our exercise, which is, for me, pretty appalling, like 5 minutes on a bike at the end of a 12-hour day. So for me, at that time in my life, I'm too busy with my own career and my own, everybody else's health. Certainly started to eat into my own health and my own time dedicated to exercise. And there are lots of women out there that experience the same thing. I'm too busy with my career, or I'm too busy at work, or I'm too busy with my emails, or my family, or my kids, or my husband, or the rest of my family, my parents perhaps. All of these statements start to come about, and then soon looking after your own self-care becomes something that you might do on a special occasion. I'll have a special treat. I'll look after myself with a massage, but I might only do that once a year. And so when is it that self-care starts to become a special treat? I don't understand, and I do understand because I've done it, but I don't understand how so many women start to fall into that trap of I'm too busy, therefore something that looks after my own self-care becomes something that I might do on a special occasion. A bit like a piece of chocolate cake. I'll just have it from time to time, just a little piece. Or maybe it's like a birthday, once a year I might go out and do something to treat myself in order to make me feel like I'm caring for my health. Now, caring for your health really falls into 3 pillars, and I know I've explained this before, but the 3 pillars are really your body health, so looking after your nutrition, your exercise, moving your body, and your sleep. Your mind health, which is your capacity to have mindset, motivation, manage your stress levels with techniques and tools such as meditation, and then also your heart health, which has got to do with your creativity, your joy, your learning, your gratitude, but your connection with other people and your social networks and your family. And so these 3 key pillars are really essential to allow a woman to give out what she wants to give in her life without feeling depleted. Now, when it comes to self-care, for some reason, because we're so busy, we seem to fall into the trap of saying, well, look, I'll go out with this group of friends just once in a while because I don't have time, I'm too busy, and then you lose connection with your friends. Or, I'll get to that meditation to calm my stress levels once I get through this whole pile of emails, which I'm hugely stressed about, and then once that's done, it's 10 o'clock at night and the only thing you want is a glass of wine. Or I'm so busy running after my kids with their sport that I actually don't go for a walk myself or a run or whatever else it is that I need with my own exercise. And so many women fall into that trap that soon self-care becomes a little indulgent for ourselves, or it appears that way. So I think that's the first area that I want to point out, is that in actual fact self-care is not an indulgence. If you can imagine when you're driving your car and your petrol is running low and you pull into a petrol station to refuel, you don't say to yourself, oh, this is a bit indulgent. I might only do this once a year. Treat my car to some fuel. You don't do that. Yet for some reason, when we look after our mind, body or heart health, our mentality can somehow shift into, well, this is a bit indulgent, looking after myself. When in actual fact, looking after your own health is as important to you and your capacity to give and to live the life you want to live as putting petrol in your car. And you don't stop for a second to think that that's an indulgence when you refueled your car. So I want to make that really clear as a statement for something for you to reflect on, in that how often do you say the words "I'm too busy," and how often do you think of self-care as something that's an indulgence? Because I'd like you to start reflecting on that belief, reflecting on those statements, and perhaps shifting it around a little bit. In the same way that you wouldn't say it's indulgent to refuel your car, I want you to start perhaps contemplating that looking after your own health, 3 key pillars of health with self-care, is as important as refueling, and it allows you to run from a place of renewal rather than always operating from a place of complete and utter depletion, which means you've got nothing left to give and you become more reactive and things start to unravel. So I guess I'd like to now, sort of with that statement kind of made, start to give you 10 kind of key tips that will help you with self-care. So the 10 key tips I can give for women with their self-care. First key tip, prioritise exercise. There's so much research around how exercise helps manage health conditions, osteoporosis, mental health, diabetes, weight management. There is so much evidence around exercise and your longevity, vitality and health that you have to prioritise it. Now, I don't necessarily think you need to do any particular type of exercise. I just think it needs to be something that you do on a regular basis. So if you need to do something in a group, like do a dance class or just go for a walk, as long as you can maintain your motivation and maintain your momentum and just make it a regular part of your week, then that is an essential part of self-care for women. Movement and exercise, because so many women, as they age and as we get older, these conditions such as osteoporosis, such as osteoarthritis, start to creep up on us. And if we've maintained our activity levels, our levels of strength in our muscles, we navigate these things so much more smoothly. So prioritise exercise is one of the first key tips for self-care with women, and there's lots of different ways that you can start to develop healthy habits, and I have explored this in other podcasts, but one of the healthy habits, one of the ways of developing healthy habits, I believe, is to set a time of day and, like push starting a car, put some effort into it just to get some momentum rolling, and then B, find your why. So if your family is your priority, then go, okay, I'm going to set time aside for me to exercise, because it means for me that I can stay active throughout my life and spend time with my kids in an active way and not be sitting on the sidelines, for example. So push starting a car means a little bit of effort's required to gain some momentum, and then find your why. So if exercise is something that you know you need to prioritise, see if you can start setting a healthy habit, which means at a certain time of day or a certain day of the week, see if you can get that in, and then find your why to kind of keep your ball rolling. But exercise is a really important part for women and their health. So first one, number one, prioritise exercise. It's not supposed to be an afterthought that's squeezed in at the end of your week. Oh, crap, I better do 5 minutes on an exercise bike. It's not going to be enough. A little bit every day is important, but at least 3 or 4 times a week, just to get your heart rate up and move and get blood flow through your body and strengthen your muscles is an important thing. And like I said, if you have trouble with motivation, grab a group of friends, make it your social time. The next tip for self-care with women is learning to say no. How often do women say, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. Oh, you need help? Okay, I've got it. Don't worry, I'll help. And soon your yes list has grown so long that your own priorities, your own health has just gone way down the list, and you don't have enough time in the day. So learning to say no to the things that you can't manage without apology, without saying, oh, I'm really sorry, just like, well, I'm unable to manage that right now, maybe somebody else can help. Maybe you can try this. I'll have time in 3 weeks, but for this next 3 weeks I don't have the time for that. So learning to say no and prioritise is a really important step for women. So number 1, prioritise exercise. Number 2, learn to say no, because it creates space that you need to be able to start prioritising yourself. Number 3, you are what you eat. So fine dining, glasses of wine, Belgian chocolate, all of these things are occasional foods that you can enjoy from time to time. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but your fuel for your body, your nutrition, the cells that grow your body actually form from what you eat, and what you eat is hugely important. So just getting into a regular habit, plenty of water, plenty of greens, vegetables, enough protein to support you. So there's lots of different things that different women need around their nutritional health. So I'm not going to give you nutritional advice. Obviously it depends on your allergies and any medical conditions that you have, but knowing the key basics of enough water, green food, plant-based food, and enough protein in order to fuel your body so that you can recover from injury, but also have enough energy to run from a place of renewal rather than running from a place of depletion. So if your diet consists of chocolate, chips, cheese, and wine, you're not going to have enough fuel to run without feeling depleted. So fuel yourself with the right nutrition. So prioritise exercise, learn to say no, you are what you eat. The next thing is sleep, so adequate sleep. Now, how much sleep every woman needs is going to be different from person to person. There's no two people that are the same, but there are a few key things that you need is a regular bedtime and a regular rising time. That's for a healthy sleep pattern. And we all know that when we wake up tired, we don't have enough resilience to navigate things throughout the day well. We become a little bit more reactive, a little bit more grumpy. Things start going wrong when we just don't have enough sleep. Yet, too often, women will find themselves sitting up at night watching Netflix or scrolling through social media instead of saying, do you know what, the priority right now for me is some sleep, so let's just get to bed at the right time. So prioritise your sleep. There's lots of things that can disrupt your sleep. Caffeine and alcohol will disrupt your sleep. And so making sure healthy habits are regular bedtime, regular waking time in order to try and build a healthy sleep cycle as an important part of your own self-care. So, prioritise exercise, learn to say no, you are what you eat, and get enough sleep. These are really basic things. The next part of self-care is just learning some really basic meditation techniques. So calming your own stress levels means calming your reactivity to life around you so you can steer your ship and navigate your way through your life in the direction that you want to go without constantly being swamped. So simple meditation techniques that you can learn, there's lots available online, and don't think you need to be able to meditate means that you need to be able to sit in silence and just silence your mind. That's actually literally not possible. So you don't need to think that you're doing meditation wrong. That's the first error, I think, is people believing that they can't meditate or they're meditating wrong if their brain isn't silent. That doesn't happen. But learning simple techniques to pay attention to your breath, to slow your exhalation, to spend moments in mindfulness, which is being more present in your daily life rather than your brain flicking from past regrets and to future worries without being in the present moment. These are all little tips that can help you develop a mindfulness and a meditation habit. And it really, I don't think it takes long. In my day, I start my day with a 5 or 10. If I've got enough time, I'll spend 15 minutes, but at least 5 minutes of meditation in the mornings just to set the stage for my day, including after that some yoga and some breath work. But 5 minutes of meditation is a really simple thing that you can learn, and it does mean that you can calm your own mental health and mind health as well as your stress levels. So definitions for self-care: simply prioritise exercise, learn to say no, you are what you eat, get enough sleep, and start to learn some meditation techniques because it can really help you with your own nervous system. Then, taking some time out. How often, and this is not just women, this is all of us, I think, how often do we fill every single moment? I can recall when I was a kid, I'd sit at the bus stop waiting for the bus, and I might just look at the clouds for a while, or I might just watch the ants go by underneath my feet. I didn't have to fill my spare 3 minutes at the bus stop with 6 Instagram posts and a Facebook post and then read something else on another blog. And so soon, I think what we're finding in daily life is that there's really very little downtime now. We're always on. We're in the car and we're talking to somebody. We're cooking dinner and we're reading something on Facebook. We're in the shower and we're planning the next meeting at work. We're constantly doing 2 or 3 things at once, and that depletes us. So learning to be able to take some time out means, you know what, I'm going to shut social media down. I'm actually maybe just going to lie on the grass for 5 minutes and stare at the sky, or perhaps I'm going to take a walk on the beach and look at the ocean, or something just to take your brain down a gear rather than constantly running at 100 kilometers an hour. So time out for short moments, and you'll know how much time out you need, it depends on what you're going through in your life, is a really important part of self-care, and not feeling like you have to fill every single second with something. So key tips at the moment: prioritise exercise, learn to say no, you are what you eat, sleep, learn a meditation technique or a meditation habit, and learn to take some time out. You don't have to fill your space with everything all of the time, and I think we're all probably a bit guilty of that. Next key tip for women in the 10 top tips that I like for self-care is get creative. And this is really looking after the heart-based pillar. So I've talked about eating, sleeping, nutrition and exercise. That forms part of the body care pillar for women. Mindfulness and stress management and learning to say no and taking time out. All of these things come under the mind health kind of pillar in order to calm our nervous systems and take ourselves from a place of depletion to renewal. But getting creative is really starting to look at your heart health. So your heart health is not only your connections with friends or family, connections with something greater than yourself, but it's also what brings you joy. So I know for some women it's cooking, others it's painting, some women it's singing. For me it's dancing. I love putting on some music and having a dance. It brings me joy. But whatever it is that awakens some creativity within you, if you can take some time for that, that is one wonderful way to refuel with self-care. And it's not an indulgence. It's actually as necessary as fuel to your car. So getting creative in whatever way that looks for you, whether it's art or music or cooking, like I said, or something with your body like dancing or yoga, whatever it is that's creative for you, if you can spend some time each week exploring that for yourself for a couple of hours or even half an hour, that's enough to start refueling you so you're not in a place of depletion, but you're in a place of renewal and ready to give to the world. So finding what brings you joy. So not only is creativity in perhaps art or music, but the next part is also what brings you joy. So for some people, joy is spending time with their kids. For other people, it's looking after their pets. For some people, it is doing something creative, but it may be something different from that. It might be walking on the beach or climbing a mountain. So whatever it is that brings you joy, you can ask yourself the question, when do I feel my happiest? What makes me feel uplifted? And if you can make time for that each week, somewhere in your week, that again is a simple way with self-care that helps bring a feeling of renewal rather than running on depletion. So we've got prioritise exercise, learn to say no, you are what you eat, get enough sleep, take some time out, learn some meditation techniques, get a bit creative, find what brings you joy. If you can do those things, these are the simple self-care techniques. They're not indulgent, simple self-care things. The last 2 pieces are get social. So very often women, and it depends on your priorities, but it's really common for women, especially if they're navigating a life challenge or going through grief or something that's depleting their energy, something in their life that's perhaps more challenging than they would expect or that they would want to, is to start isolating themselves. And isolating means, okay, I'll just work through this myself, I'll focus on my work and my family, or I'll focus on a few other things, and suddenly the social support networks dwindle away, and soon you find that you don't have enough social support. And it's actually amazing in the research how, as we age, how important those social networks actually are for our health. So getting social simply means prioritising once in a little while just to get together with your friends. And I would say with that getting social is also get selective. You know the people that may leave you feeling depleted. And you know the people around you that leave you feeling renewed. And so for the people around you that make you feel depleted, it's not to run away from bad things, but if you are in a place of depletion and you are going through a challenge, it's important, especially when your time is limited, to get really selective. So choose to spend time with some friends that actually support your growth or leave you in a place of renewal. So the last little piece for women with their self-care is learning acceptance. So acceptance simply means there are days where you wake up and you know that at the moment life's a bit of a challenge. And rather than fighting it and saying, look, it's not this and I don't want that, and if only this would change, and if I should have done that, and ruminating through all of the things that you should have, would have, could have done, and that might have changed your outcome, or being fearful of what's going to be coming next, part of it is going, do you know what, this is where I am today. And I am going to do the best I can with the tools and resources that I've got to give out what I need today. And for some people, on some days, that's very little, and that's okay. So acceptance of where you are is a really important part of self-care for women, which means they're not constantly looking for the place that they feel they should be, or looking around at others and comparing themselves to others. Just waking up and going, do you know what? This is where I am today. Acceptance. So self-care for women, it's not an indulgence. It often gets confused with indulgence because we feel that we're so busy that we can't prioritise ourselves, and perhaps looking after ourselves is an indulgent thing to do. It's not. It's a bit like refueling your car. It's essential. And the 10 key things that cover all 3 pillars for self-care for women. It doesn't involve fine wine or expensive chocolates or dinners out. It doesn't need to be anything like that. They're just really simple things. They are prioritising exercise, learning to say no, learning to eat the right things. You are what you eat. Learning a meditation practice if you can, getting enough sleep, taking some time out, getting creative as best you can, finding what brings you joy, learning to say no, getting social with the right people that support you, and also acceptance. This is where I am today. So I hope that conversation has helped spark a few thoughts within you as to what self-care actually is and what it isn't, and how often it is that you perhaps place that down the list of priorities rather than putting it higher on the list of priorities, and why you do that. And hopefully you'll learn from this that self-care is not an indulgence. It's actually an essential part of looking after you, which means that you're in a place of renewal to give out to the world as you want to, and shine out the way that you want to, rather than being in a place of treadmill running depletion. So I hope that helps. Thanks so much for listening in today. If you'd like to know a little bit more about me or podcasts or the retreats that I run for women to help them navigate life's challenges, you can check out my website.